All right. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you might be. Maybe that was a little too much excitement. Good morning, afternoon, or evening, wherever you might be in time and space. Hang on just a second. I need to determine if the setting that I've changed in OBS is actually going to allow me to do a stable stream. So give me just a minute here. What I'm talking about. And thank you to the latest subscriber, Reginald Keaton. Thank you, thank you. We'll definitely subscribe back. Okay. Okay, so what I've done, which I haven't normally been able to do because I've been trying to do like 4K streams and just pushing everything as hard as possible. And when I'm doing that, I just can't, it can't do 2 passes full resolution in multi-pass mode. Never been able to do it. It just causes wicked encoder lag. Or anyway, now that it's on, let me go over to view and stats and hit reset. Now let me go back to Microsoft Flight Simulator, and I want to just sit here for 30 seconds or so and monitor stats for 30 seconds. And there's Bushtalk Radio. Remember. Good. So if we happen to, that's just a bonus, if we happen to fly within a mile of certain landmarks or certain things they've got a pin on the map, we'll get an audio tour. Okay. Well, looking at the stats so far, let me spin around and make the camera do some silly things here for a minute. That way it's pushing the graphics card and it's pushing the encoder and just trying to make it. See if I can get a reaction out of it. So far so good. 0 frames. It might cause 1 frame whenever I switch over between the 2 programs. Yeah, I usually get 1 frame. Let me pull up my stats here. Okay, so you see that just switching back and forth between the screens, I lose a frame to render lag. That's not a big deal. Not at all. Not even noticeable. Okay, but skip frames, none. So right now we're encoding with a full multipass. Now I'm not sure entirely what that means. In theory, selecting the full multipass under output, 2 passes, full resolution. That at the end, what it's sending to your eyes is the best quality it can do. Normally it's set to 1/4, and it always still looks pretty darn good. So again, now that I've been tweaking things to try to find that sweet spot between streaming and gaming and not blowing up the CPU or GPU, I'm at a sweet spot where I can turn that on for the first time. Okay. So I think that answers that. I think we're going to be just fine. Okay. Probably not that windy outside. I turned it up yesterday all the way, the environment, so we could have something going on. Okay. All right. So I've spawned in here cold and dark into the A320 to force myself to set up the flight plan from in here and not from the main menu. And you might be thinking, well, that's not basic, that's intermediate. Okay, intermediate. But a lot of folks tell you, no, this is just the bare basics. Okay, and I'm not going to get real involved with the MCDU. I'm just going to get us to the point where the basics, how to set up a flight and how to go. I'm not going to be doing all the detailed SIMBrief stuff, you know, going through every little screen. So just the basics. All right. So the basics to get started here. Let's go through a quick checklist to get our battery on and get in contact with the airport and get some ground services hooked up. That's always fun to watch. Okay. So before starting the engine, I love doing this in evaluation because it just kind of, whatever's checked, it'll check and move on. And whatever needs our attention, it'll stop. Oh, do I have the voices all the way down again? We were doing the community fly-in yesterday, and settings are always getting changed to, yeah, to not interfere with the experience. All right, so let's get our batteries on.
On. External power.
Okay. Do we have enough now just with that batteries on? Contact. Yes. So now we can hook up an external power. So we'll request ground services and power supply.
Colorado Springs ground Kineas 112 tree. Could you please send a ground power unit?
He's already there. You're just going to see the cable hook up. There he is. Okay, so he's got to back up. He's going to hook up the extension cord to our plane here. There we go. Now we have power. We might as well get everything else going here and enjoy this, then we'll get back in. So we really don't need a fuel supply, but we can.
Colorado Springs ground Kineas 112 tree. Could you please send a fuel truck?
I don't know what's up with what I've got set wrong, but I'm not hearing ATC back. And I've checked my settings and it says I'm supposed to hear ATC, and I'll show you, but I've toggled something weird. See how we're not hearing them? We'll go ahead and do our baggage service, get that going.
Colorado Springs ground Kineas 112 tree. Could you please send the baggage?
There's baggage. Get the catering going.
Springs ground Kineas 112 tree. Could you please send the catering truck?
Catering truck's pretty cool. Got a scissor lift. And then the little doors open automatically. Slow down our drone. Can't fly without our Starbucks, I tell ya. Little plank. Very nice. Okay. There we are. So, okay, here's our fuel. Might as well just fill it up. And I don't know how many passengers we're taking on, but let's go ahead and just bump that up a little bit. I said this is all basic. Yep. Did a reset. All right. There's our fuel. You want to see the fuel truck? Thank you. See you later. Or he's going to fill us up. Or is he taking off? Yeah, he's taking... I don't know. I don't think the fuel truck knows what it's doing. He's like, there's a guy standing there. My front wheels all jacked up. My hydraulics are bleeding all over the place. It's hissing. Nice to see a lot of traffic in the air today. That's somebody moving really slow. That TBM, they're like slewing over there. It's nice to see people in the air here. It's usually kind of quiet around Colorado Springs. Yesterday was busy. Yeah, I'd say that guy is kind of slewing. We're doing something. There's no way a TBM is floating that slow. But look at, there's people everywhere today. This is great. And they're not all up at 20,000 feet. These are locals. 7,000, 8,000. That guy over there, American Boy, 6,000. There's an airliner, 39, 40. Dead Butter, I saw him yesterday. So he's flying around a lot. All right. I think our fuel guy is just now got that guy to move out from under the wing, and he's filling us up now. Okay, so on if available.
On if available. Engine generators.
Set fault.
/ fault displayed.
Yep.
Engine bleed air switches. On.
Lead.
APU master switch.
Okay. What? On.
On. APU start. On. APU start.
And normally we're supposed to wait for this thing to turn to available, and it didn't last time, which is weird. See, it says APU start, wait for available. Normally it takes about 30 seconds. And you can normally hear the like the APU fan in the dashboard kind of kick in. But I don't really hear it at the moment. But we'll give it a minute. We'll go ahead and give it a minute, but this was problematic last time. It's not continuing on. It's not engaging and set it to available. But just give it a minute. If not, you might have to just auto-complete this item as well. It used to be this way early on, and then it was fine, and then occasionally it pops up and does this. I have used the study level A320s, the Microsoft one and the other one. The other, was it Just Fly It or whomever makes the other really detailed one. And far out. I was really into it at the time and was doing Airbus flights 2, 3, 4 times a day. And I was into it back then. And right now, I'm just not back there. I've been flying and doing my Skydude NEOFLY career stuff for this last year. And then and then the world touring stuff. And am now just back to trying to remember how to do everything. So we're not getting it. I'm going to auto-complete the item. And if you have to, hit force finish.
APU bleed.
And it still doesn't turn it to available. Okay, on.
On. External power.
Okay, so we have our generators and everything else is generating our own power. So we can request our power supply end.
Colorado Springs ground Kinneas 112 tree.
Turn on all these.
Power.
On. Beacon.
Now I'm hungry.
On.
I always think of bacon. Okay. Now starting engine. Let's do our... Well, we don't know where we're going yet. I don't want to do a jetway connection. I don't even want to start the engines. Let's do the flight planning now. Figure out where we're going to go. If you have any suggestions, go ahead and shout them out in the chat room. Hey, just an aside for a minute. If you need a subscriber, you're trying to build up your subscribers, then please don't hesitate to say hello in the chat room or leave an emoji, type a period. It doesn't matter. What matters is you type something into the chat room. That gives me the three dot option next to your name, which allows me to go immediately to your channel and click subscribe. So if you subscribe to me, it takes hours or even a day or more for it to show up on my subscriber list, and then from there I have to type in your name, like find your channel, and then hit subscribe. So it just saves all of us so much time. It's so easy if you just say hi. So don't feel bad if you're not going to subscribe to me and you just want a subscriber. Like, I don't know, I like you, I don't like you, but I could use a subscriber. Yeah, sure, okay. Okay, so let's figure out where we want to go today. Now, here's where I want to go over to Skyvector. And this is, to me, if you're all about free and you want to learn, but you don't want to pay for SIMBrief or Navigraph or those other things, this is the most valuable tool ever. And it's awesome. And it's called Skyvector, skyvector.com. It's always been free. Make sure I'm on my Skyvector screen because you're seeing OBS. There we go. Okay. So skyvector.com. Amazing. It's constantly updating. It's a real-time site. Like here, it's telling you that there's a football game going on. I mean, whatever's going on, if there's a traffic danger zone, or anything going on in aviation, or in general, just entertainment, it'll tell you. So here, it's going to provide all your visual flight rules maps, but if you need a world low or world high, which we're probably going to use, it's up here in the top. Just change to world low, world high. Okay, now flight planning is really wonderful with Skyvector, and it looks like Microsoft Flight Simulator is going to incorporate, I don't know how the other ones really work, but to me, it's very Skyvector-like, which is wonderful because this is the best. Okay, so for flight planning, we're starting out at KCOS. Okay, go back to something you're a little bit more used to for the moment. Okay, so we're starting out here at KCOS, and if anybody's chatting, which direction, at least, is there a particular direction you want to go? North, south, east, or west? I'll wait a second and see if anybody wants to say anything. If not, I'll just flip a coin, I suppose. Roll the four-sided dice. You're into D&D. I don't have my dice roller up. For a while there, I was running doing some demos of like, will I crash a celebrity? So everybody's doing their interview with celebrity shows, like the Hot Wings and everything else. Mine would be, okay, I'm just learning, and I've just learned enough about learning how to fly planes, and I'm doing cross countries. Do I trust myself carrying any passengers? Well, the answer is, in the real world, would still be no. No. But am I good enough, at least in the simulator, to interview a celebrity while I fly them somewhere and not crash us both? And that was a lot of fun. But I was getting so good that chances are everyone's going to be boring. I'm going to survive. We're going to survive. So I introduced every 5 minutes we have to either something random will change in the airplane for good or bad, mostly bad. The weather can change. So we're rolling dice like every 5 minutes to change the odds, to make the odds more and more difficult as we go on. Kind of like the hot sauce thing. It's going to get hotter and hotter as we go. And So basically, it's going to put us into a dangerous situation. And then seeing if I can at least not kill us. Okay. Nobody said anything. So let me go back to Skyvector. I think some of the most interesting visuals mountain-wise. Let's go to Salt Lake. That's a common flight out of here. Salt Lake City. And we'll, what is it? KHIF. That's the Air Force Base. KOGD. Okay. KOGD. And then hit enter. And so now we'll have a basic route. And this is what we're going to be able to do in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024. Check this out. Let's say you just... First of all, let me find a route. Hit routes. So it'll pull up one that is like FlightAware. It will pull up a real world route. Okay. Including the departure and the... So we leave, we go to Stammy, then we get on the Victor 108, which is a highway in the sky. Like I-25, like getting on a highway. I-25 or I-50 or whatever, Highway 50. Victors in the green up here are highways. So we're going to be on Highway 108, going to the EKR VOR. Then we're going to get onto the Highway 200 and go to the MTU VOR. Then we're going to get on the 84 highway to TCH, and then I guess we come in for a landing there. Okay, but let's say we really wanted to see this airport along our way. Okay, you can grab your ribbon and pull it. Put it anywhere you want. And you can, when you let it go, you get an option to go to the nearest airport, the nearest waypoint, or the nearest GPS point. So I'll just put I don't want to put the airport in for a landing. So let's just go to the nearest waypoint, which is OLOW, OLWI, whatever, something like that. All right, so it clicks there. So you're able to add as many points as you want or remove points to your heart's content. And that's been rather kind of difficult in 2020 up to this point. It's not so intuitive sometimes. So sometimes you'll want to put a point over here and it'll do something completely different. So having this kind of functionality in 2024, I thought we should have had it all along. But better late than never. Okay. Now, since we already have a plan, that's nice. We can go into the MCDU and just type all this in. But I kind of want to do things just a touch different. So I want to start with Colorado. I'm going to blow out the flight plan. Let me just delete all that. Hit enter. So we got back to a straight point to point. Okay. I want to come down to Colorado Springs and click on the pin and hover over the city map or the airport map and get this drop down box. And I want to look for the departure procedures. Okay. So it looks like we have two of them, or actually just one, but with some continued information. All right. So the departure procedures are Spring 6. Let's pull this up and blow it up and rotate it. Okay. So how do we make heads or tails of this thing? Well, here's the airport. Okay. and it's showing the course headings for taking off in any direction. And it's showing our nearest VOR, ELSA. And as we zoom out, these points that look like diamonds, those are points in the sky that basically imagine like going from your driveway to the streets that will lead you to a highway. It's the best way to imagine this, I think. So our driveway is our runway, and then when we leave our runway, we either fly willy-nilly or we follow prescribed roads in the sky. Okay, these 3 points are roads in the sky points, coming to or leaving. All right. So then you get information if you want to go through all this. Standard with minimum climb of 250 feet per nautical mile to 6,400 feet, blah, 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 blah. As we zoom out, you're going to start seeing the other VORs in the area that you can use. Okay. So it says if we're leaving any one of these, it seems like we're all these routes. Everything turns. Everything's going towards the Black Forest VOR first. And then from there, it seems like you go. But let's see what it says on the following page. See if we get something a little bit more definitive. What does the continued page say? Okay. All right. Take off. Okay, so yeah. Blow that up more? No. Oh, you. Take off runway climb heading 127 for radar vectors to field assigned route. But we really don't, it doesn't really seem that we have that much of a, we don't have a whole lot of things we need to do. At certain other areas, you'll see the departure procedures and they're a little bit more complex. And we don't even know which runway we're supposed to be using right at the moment. Which is interesting. You have to, and if you're not flight planning from the main menu, you have to plan all this out, then plan out as much as you can, and then contact the tower, and then they'll assign us a runway. Anyway, I wanted to show you that before we got too involved. So we've got a basic plan now. KCOS to KOGD, and we'll get an arrival. I'll show you that in a minute. Okay. So KCOS to KOGD. That's where we'll start. Let's come down here to it's in all planes. This is going to look very similar. What they call them can be different, but ultimately all these airliners have a master computer, and this is your interface to the computer of the airplane. Okay, this stuff is basically just, and I don't want to get again too much into the details, but this tells you when the database was updated. Most important key you're going to want to know is your initialization key. All right, and up here, to and from. And we follow the format listed there, the ICAO, / ICAO. So, KCOS / KOGD. And then you press this soft key next to from and to. You populate that. All right. This next screen that pops up, as I was told, is in the real world they have these little SIM cards they can put in, or they have pre-programmed routes. And if you were using a SIM card or a pre-programmed corporate route or whatever, here's where you would get your options, but we don't have any. And so we don't need to do anything. We just need to hit return. and go back to the main menu. So we're telling it, we're not using anybody's special plan. Just use what we've got. Okay. So now, from Colorado Springs to KOGD, and company route, none. And flight number, it assigned us 1123. Okay. Again, I'm not going to cross index. I don't know what our cruise flight is supposed to be. Normally, like 12,000, but we're going to be going over the mountains. So just to be safe, I'm going to go ahead and put 30,000 feet. And plug that in as a cruise. They may assign us a different cruise, but I'll just put something there. It says if we go to 30,000 feet, it's going to be negative 44 degrees up there. All right. Now, from here, we go to our flight plan. Now that we've got our to and from and to, go to flight plan. Okay. Here's what we're going to see. We're going from Colorado Springs. In between here and there, we're going to hit a decel point, acceleration, and then we're going to KOGD, and that's it. A straight line. And if we were to look up at our flight plan and set this knob to plan so we can see our flight plan and zoom out to 320 miles, you see that it's just a straight line with a decel point. KCOS, decel, KOGD. Let me turn the monitors up. Come on, you. Stop misbehaving on me. Okay. So now, in here, we can back to clearance. Okay. Now, let's request an instrument flight rules clearance for instrument flight plan. Oh, wait. Sorry, and I'm trying to not make this confusing, but I'm trying to relearn. That's what the whole point of this is. Okay. What I want to do is I want to go look at arrivals first, and I want to see if I can plug in an arrival. And then they'll tell us what runway we're leaving, and we can plug in our departure after that. But let's see what... Okay, so we come back over to Salt Lake. And do the same thing. We hover over the green pin on the airport. Click on it. First option is always going to be the airport information. And we're going to look for the arrival approach procedures. And I want to do an ILS runway today, an ILS practice, which is an instrument landing. And so I'm going to choose the runway with an ILS, and that is runway 3. Okay. So here's our missed approach information, frequently used frequencies, a little bit about the runway. What's about? The localizer 111.7. Okay. All right. Now, this can be a little confusing, but the thing you want to pay attention to is the arrow, the big arrow. And the big arrow points the way to the runway. And usually your airplane, no matter what, is going to be placed here. They're going to always try to put you at the tail end of the arrow and direct you down the arrow to the runway. And if we zoom over here, that's the runway. Now you're going to have points along the arrow, waypoints along the arrow, Wolf, Joseph, in this case, Joseph and Wolf. There might be others out here. And at some point along this route is going to be the point we need to be in time and space to turn on the approach button on our dashboard to make shake hands with the ground computer and then take over and control the descent down to the runway. I think the easiest way to understand this is below. We come down here and go to this area of the page, the side view. To me, this is so much easier to understand. Okay, here's the gray arrow, the giant arrow, same thing, pointing down to the runway. And now there's an X marks the spot. That's where you need to be in time and space. People are like, my ILS doesn't work. Are you at the right altitude? If you're above it or below it, sometimes it's not always going to take and catch. It's pretty forgiving, but it's not that forgiving. Okay, now here are the waypoints going in. Joseph, Wolf, we only have 2. Some airports have quite a few, multiples along here. But this is telling us when our plane reaches the first waypoint, we need to be at 8,000 feet. ATC will probably get us to this point at 8,000 feet, but you need to be in charge. And if the air traffic control doesn't put you at 8,000 feet by the time we get to Joseph, you need to put yourself there. Same with this. If it does not then tell you to descend for the next waypoint to hit 6,000 feet, you need to do this yourself. But it's no more complex than that. Right here, Wolf, on course setting 34 at 6,000 feet. That's it. And then hit the approach button. And I'll show you how to, when the diamond thing, and we'll get to all that. And now here, once you've hit approach on the X, it'll shake hands with the ground computer in a nutshell. And it will start guiding the plane down to the runway, and all you need to do is, say, monitor the throttle. You don't even really have to mess with it. If you're in the proper auto throttle setting, it'll handle that too. You just need to prepare for the moment of terror. And the moment of terror happens right here. Because right here, or a little bit closer to here, you turn off the autopilot. It's not going to do an auto land, not this particular aircraft. It'll get you there, but then you've got to do the landing. That's why I call it the moment of terror. Because everything, you can have the most perfect flight up to this point. And once you switch that autopilot off, this is where you're back in control. And you need to land the plane and get it onto the ground safely. Okay, so if you miss, these dotted lines are telling you, for whatever reason, if things go bad at this point here, you must take off. Okay. Now these boxes up here give you your instructions on what to do if you have to take off. First box says climb to 5,000 feet. The next box says turn and keep climbing. 5,000 feet. Turn to the left and keep climbing to 9,000 feet and go to the OGD VOR. And you're going to want to get on the 263 radial. And I'm thinking this is the holding point. Again, I'm refreshing myself. So we'll have a look up top and see. We're going to be looking for OGD and Moint. So the same kind of information is listed up here. Here's the runway. If we come in and we miss it, we have to climb 5,000 feet, keep climbing to 9,000 feet while making the turn. We're going to be shooting for Ogden, OGD, this VOR, and they wanted us on the 32 radial to, the 263 radial, the Moint. Okay, so you come here to Ogden, you get on the 263 radial, and you come to this waypoint out here, Moint, which is approximately 15.1 miles from the runway. And you get into a holding pattern right here. You come in, and you actually turn and you go this way and you do clockwise rotation until you're told to come back in. Mostly because it's a simulator, you can do whatever you want. What's easiest to do is just go to your computer and do it direct and just bring yourself out to this point again on the arrow and then turn around and come back in. Try to hit Wolf at 6,000 feet. But that's the way it's done by the book, or the way that they would want you to do it by the book. Go out, hold, be told then to come back in. And that's what they're going to do. They're going to tell you when you're done holding and to come back in to basically do that. They're going to send you probably here, and then, but either way, you're going to end up here again at the end of the arrow and be directed back down towards the runway. Okay. Don't freak out if the ILS doesn't work. Don't reset. Learn how to recover. And even in the air traffic control, there's an option if you miss to tell the air traffic control, I've missed. I'm going around, or I'm filing a missed approach. So it's a teaching opportunity. Even if at that point you're confused about what to do, just remain calm. Even if you're going to switch to manual and try to fly the thing in a big circle and come back and try again. It's okay. Follow your missed approach. Try again. All right. So now we know what runway we got, which is ILS runway 3. So let's go back to our computer. And we're going to come back down here, and now we're going to click on the airport, our destination airport, KOGD. Click the soft key button next to it. All right, now we're in the menu for that airport, and we want to choose our arrival. Click arrival. We want ILS 03. Click that. Okay, now we're going to get, do you have any trans? Basically, this is like your star. Right now we have no star at this particular airport, and no transition. So some airports are going to have complicated routes where they're going to lead you around different places before they bring you in. And if this page had any of that, we would be entering it. But we'll see what's there, though. Star. There is no star. And there is no trans. I'll show you a different airport some other time, maybe after this flight. That's a little bit more complex. So we have to enter in the star and the transition. Okay, but all that information is published on these charts, and it's very simple. Just find out what's on there and put that in here. Microsoft Flight Simulator was a breakthrough. This is part of the reason why it was a paradigm shift. They included real-time visualization of all of these charts from the main world map. People scoff. They're like, I'm going to use a little nav planner or SIMBrief, or I'm going to use this and that. Well, for the person that's beginning, planning from the world menu, the main menu, is gold. Because nowhere ever could you see, by just clicking through the choices, see the different routes. You had to scroll through and research every PDF. And I got to tell you, brothers and sisters, that sucks. And I can only imagine in the real world how much more difficult that is to have always, you always have to have the current, most up-to-date charts, and it's always changing. And then if you don't do it by the book, everything perfect, you're screwed. I'm sure they don't set people up for failure, but I can only imagine how difficult this was in the past. Everything, when you look back on it in aviation, it's like, oh my gosh, we've got it so good today. All right, so we've got it plugged in. All we need to do is now set it in the main computer. So I'm just going to hit insert. Okay, so now you'll see 2 common names now in our flight plan. It's adjusting itself. It's trying to figure out where to put the decel point. But you now see that we go from Colorado Springs, the deceleration point, to Joseph, and to Wolf. I wouldn't lie to you. And you see it's already put in the proper altitude. Joseph at 8,000 feet and Wolf at 6,000 feet. So in this case, we might have to stress that much that the airliner will get us there. But you're the captain. You've got to make sure. And that's really the nuts and bolts of how to set up a plane in the most basic way. We've got our to from. We use the init key and we use the flight plan key. Ignore everything else. Make it easy on yourself for right now. You can always make it more complex. But don't be intimidated by this thing. It's just a different UI. It's just a different graphical interface for an autopilot. Your GPS. You're just basically you're setting up a flight plan. It's right. As they get more complex, I do want to point this out. As you build up more and more complex flight plans that can go on forever, to go up and down in the list, the buttons are kind of reversed. Down is up and up is down. But if there were more down, press up, and like here, it kind of repeats itself. But if I want to go back up, I press the down arrow. The left and right arrows are for other options that have multiple pages, like the init. You see the next to the word init, it's got the right arrow. That means there's more pages. So if I use the left and right arrow or the right arrow, you know, I can access more pages to input or get more information or back out. Let me go back to the flight plan. So now you'll see on our flight plan, yeah, it's all jumbled there at the end. You want to move through your flight plan. Let me put, using the up and down arrows, let me put and highlight Joseph. Or at least get us closer to that. And now zoom in. Say 40 miles. Okay. 40. Easy. 40 miles. Okay, so now we got a better look at that tail end. So we're gonna be coming in here. It's going to put us onto the Joseph waypoint and turn us towards the runway. There's the Wolf waypoint, and then there's the runway. 8,000 feet, 6,000 feet, runway. Hookah, 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 lobster. You may not know what that means. Okay. We're getting an ATIS, so we might as well. That's so weird that I'm not hearing it. It's really disconcerting. But what we're looking for is our altimeter setting, which is set here. And it says dew point altimeter 3034. So we're already set. The altimeter is 3034. Visual runway 17 right and ILS runway 17 left are in use. All right. Now I can file. We've got our flight plan in there, and we've got our arrival set up. So I'm going to file. I'm going to request the instrument flight rules clearance for instrument flight plan.
Colorado Springs Ground KCOS 112 tree ready to copy IFR clearance to Ogden.
KCOS 1123 is cleared to Ogden Airport as filed. Takeoff, runway 17 left. Climb and maintain 14,000 feet. And then our departure frequency and squawk. Okay, we've got a runway.
KCOS 112 tree cleared to Ogden Airport is filed. Takeoff runway 17 left, climb and maintain 14,000 feet. Departure on 124.0 squawk 4064.
Well, let me go ahead and plug in our altitude. We've got that. Okay, 14, and I'll pull down to set it. And when we take off, I want to climb, and keep it a really shallow climb. I don't want anybody in the back to get jostled. So they say between, 1,200 and sometimes up to 2,500, the passengers aren't going to be too uncomfortable. So keep that there. We're going to request our taxi. Well, we haven't even started the engines. I'm getting ahead of myself again, as always. Okay, so they've given us a runway. So we come back to our flight plan. Go back up to the top or find a KCOS somewhere. Okay, so we're back at the top. Here's our takeoff airport. Click the sticky key, and we're going to do just the opposite. Now we're going to set our departure. Click the soft key. We were assigned runway 17 left. Click the soft key. We can choose now none, or we can choose COS 6. And we looked at that. Yeah. Okay, good. I'm going to say, are we back in here? I hope I didn't leave you on Skyvector. Or again, we can look at the COS 6 plan, which is going to take us out to the Black Forest. Can I close the screen now? Boy. It's what am I doing wrong? Sorry, one moment. I can't close that. Couldn't close that. If I go back to Colorado Springs, pull down the departures, departure 6, COS 6. So again, it seems like it's telling us that we're going to be taking off from runway 17 left. That's this end. And we're going to be flying on course setting 172. If we choose COS 6, it's going to take us around. And I think it's going to take us to the Elza, or it's going to take us to the Black Forest VOR. And then we join our flight plan. So I'll do it. Just see what it does. The plane turned off? What happened there? Check it out. We've lost power. Electrical systems must be turned on. Somehow the engines or the battery died. We unhooked the power, but we were on self-power. That's weird. All right. Well, in this case, I'm going to go back before starting menu, reset the page, and autocomplete the page. Autocomplete item, force finish.
APU bleed.
Auto
on.
Complete page. See if we're reconnected with air traffic control. Good. Hopefully it didn't blow all our crap out in the MCDU. Doing. Good. We're back to where we were. COS 6. And insert it. So I'm expecting it's going to populate in here that waypoint for Black Forest. I think. Nope, but we have the runway in there now. So it knows what it's going to do. But it now says KCOS 17 left. All right. Thrust levers set to idle. Mode selector. down here, switch it to normal or on to start engine 2. Start engine 1. And then we wait for the engines to spool up. And we see activity is happening. The numbers are starting to roll. The engines are spooling. You hear it. Okay. Just wait for them to spool up. Make sure that they're both balanced. Okay. Once they're balanced, we turn off the APU bleed and we turn off the master switch and set the dial back by the throttle to normal. Okay, so APU bleed off and master switch off. And engine mode selector normal. All right, now we can request taxi.
Colorado Springs ground Kinney is 112 tree with Juliet ready to taxi IFR.
Taxi and hold short of runway 17 left using taxiway cross runway 31. Contact tower on 133.15 when ready. Okay, we've already got our ATIS.
Taxi to and hold short runway 17 left using taxiway cross runway tree 1 Kinney is 112 tree.
Okay. This is where I love using the autopilot. My co-pilot, the invisible co-pilot there. I don't know about you. I don't really enjoy taxiing that much. And so we've been given our clearance to get out there. Now, again, if you want the full experience, finding your... If you didn't understand what that means, use 17 left. Usually they tell you, go to A, B, L2, Z7, and then cross runway this, and then turn here. And sometimes these instructions can be a real pain in the butt. All you've got to do, though, if it is complex, don't let it freak you out. Go back to your Skyvector. Okay, and click on the airport, and the first, instead of getting a PDF from below, get the airport PDF, airport diagram. Okay. It may look confusing, but it's not, but everything is labeled, right? There's taxiway B. This is taxiway B5. Okay. This is taxiway B1. This is taxiway B2. This is taxiway C2. A2, A. A3, C3, A4, A5, C5. Are you getting it? G, H, P, N, M, G, H, M, B, E, E3, F, E2, E1. And that's what I mean. Sometimes they'll tell you, I mean, we could have been over here, parked somewhere. You know, go to C, go to B, go to B5. Turn on B5 to M. Go to H. Go to E4. Or go to E. Come down to E until you hit E7. And then get onto the runway. So if they do feed you a long one and you want to do it manually, this is where you get your route, your taxi, the taxi designators. Or you'd have to do it with a drone camera, which is a real pain in the butt. Get your drone camera, go out there and go start looking at all the different little taxi signs and find the appropriate route. It's much easier this way, though. But it's also much easier when you tell your AI. Now that we've been given our plan, you take it. Usually he requests a pushback too. Let's see what he does. Now don't drive us into the wall, sir. Can't believe he didn't do a pushback. But letting the AI, if you don't want a taxi, let the AI at this point get you to the runway and then turn it off. That's the best use of it, I think. I am hearing that some advanced airliners have, not only do they have the landing function, so it'll take you from an ILS landing and then it'll do an auto landing sequence. And I hear that they have auto taxiing. So literally, if you have an advanced aircraft that's that advanced, you don't do anything. You just are sitting here in case of any emergency. And they have auto taxiing like this. It'll taxi it for you. It'll get you onto the runway. It's probably got auto takeoff at this point. And all we do is we're just there. And hopefully with tons and tons and tons of simulator and flight hours accumulated, that if something should go wrong, nobody would ever know. I'm really thrilled with the new planes that are going to be coming out for general aviation, which are incorporating a lot of these advanced technologies. It's amazing. We are literally making a huge leap really soon into the future as far as a grandmother, being able to go get into a brand new, highly computerized aircraft and be doing a cross country in 30 minutes. Like a pimp. It's super easy controls, super precise throttle controls, super precise handling controls. And I mean it's super precise. Automated autopilots, soft landing technologies, voice-driven communication, voice-driven control. Garmin has a new feature for general aviation. It's an emergency. I don't know why it's not just part of the thing. It's set up as an emergency use only kind of thing. It's an auto lander. In case of emergency, let's say the pilot has a heart attack and little Timmy, the 13-year-old, is the only one brave enough to think about trying to do anything. All you gotta do is press a red emergency button and it does everything. Contacts the towers, contacts all the appropriate authorities, does everything. Plans and maps out to the nearest airport or whatever, and it lands you. But I do not believe that that should be an emergency only system. I believe that everybody should use it. Unless you're training, I mean, why? It should be built in as just a standard function. Because it contacts FCC, it does all these things. So what? Try some more. Fly over Mont. Yeah, you fly over Mont. Yeah, hey, happy Saturday to you, Rent-A-Cow. And it looks like you had a good time last night flying around. I'm sorry I couldn't make it. It absolutely when checking schedules, crossed over into my time with Christine last night. And I can't miss, I can't miss my Friday nights with Christine. So that didn't work out. But as soon as her Great British Baking Show season ends, I'll be free. Procedure turn left 45 degrees. Count to 30, right 180 degrees. Correct. The 30-second rotation on the hold. All turn standard rate, 3 degrees per second. Correct. Yeah. And then you usually wait for air traffic control to get you back to your proper entry point. It was awful fun flying with you yesterday. It was awful fun flying with, I shouldn't say awful fun. It was great fun. Yeah, fun. Great fun flying with you and everybody yesterday. And at certain times being able to fly in formation. But I was over there doing tours and checking things, and it is really nice seeing all the people flying in Colorado Springs today. A lot of airliners, but a lot of just general aviation craft flying around Colorado Springs today. And that's great. Normally I don't see people, and I'm happy. Yesterday was busy as heck around here, and I couldn't believe it. It's really nice seeing people flying Colorado Springs. All right. I said at this point, we want to take control back over from... Surprised he hasn't put us up on the runway yet.
Colorado Springs Tower Kinney is 112 tree ready for departure runway 17 left.
There he goes.
To Ogden.
Altimeter 33. 3033. And we're clear to take off.
Runway 17 left Kinney is 112 tree.
All right, so the AI is going to get us up on the runway, and then I'll turn them off. Get us lined up, so... He doesn't know how to use the brakes. You have brakes. There you go. There you go. Doing great. You just got to get us up there and line us up. Good job, Steve. Good job. And I turn them off. Hit the brakes. Line up. So we're not too heavy today, but I'll go ahead and power up the engines before letting the brakes go. I think. Let it spool. Now, I don't want to do too much either. I don't want to manually fly this thing around. So as soon as it starts lifting up, and I feel that it is stable, I've got to do a small bit of pull up, but usually if you just let it go, it'll even climb on its own. But as soon as it's up, I bring the gear up, and I immediately turn on the autopilot. And I let it do everything it needs to do. Okay, the phases of the throttle, though, is full forward. You see where it says toga? Let's take off and go around speed. Either way, your throttle's in full, right? Or to flex. I suppose you could even have it in climb. But usually you go from one of these, and as soon as we're up off the ground, lifting our gear up, you put it into climb. As soon as your flaps are retracted, and you're just about, you're climbing or just about to your desired altitude, in this case 14,000, put it anywhere in this area. That's the auto throttle area. Anywhere between 0 and there. You're not controlling speed. It doesn't matter if it's all the way down here. As long as it's in between these two spaces, the auto throttle's engaged. You want to make sure that it is on your dashboard. Okay, got 14,000 set. Maybe pull it down, pull this down to 1200, and that is it. If it's going to be raining or anything, when we get there, if you have to mess with your brakes or landing gear, you can set auto brake, low, medium, and max. So let's say well, I expect it to be clear, so we really don't need to mess with anything here, but you can set these to low, or you want it to be a little bit more grippy. I think there could be a little rain on the runway or something. And if you know for a fact it's going to be raining, snowing, and you really want those brakes to do their job, set it to max. Okay. All right. So we just let go of the brakes now and go. Just keep it on the runway. There's Red Scow. In a Volocopter. Look at that. I have the Volocopter too. I love it. I did not mention like V speeds and takeoff speeds and when you're supposed to lift your nose. It's usually about 140 knots on average. You know, to when you want to start pulling up the nose a little bit. We're very full and we're very heavy today. I'm going to go ahead and climb this up a little bit more myself. Yes. All right, raising the gear. And we seem pretty stable. Taking my hand off the controller and turning on the autopilot. Double checking on pulling down my altitude and my vertical speed control. And I'm surprised. We were set to KCOS 6, but you see it's deviating from the... Unless it is going to straighten out and then turn around and do a U-turn and go the opposite direction, do a counterclockwise. Which it should be doing. If it's going to do the KCOS 6, it should be doing a U-turn, going out to the BRK, and then taking us out. But it seems like it's doing...
24.0 Kinney is 112 tree.
It seems like it's doing it in the reverse.
Colorado Springs departure Kinney is 112 tree.
And we're coming down.
Feet.
Man, it's scaring me. Let me make sure it's in climb. You're scaring me, plane. You're scaring me. You're scaring me. You can't ever trust an autopilot. And right now, I don't know what the hell's going on. It's not working. I'm turning it off. I've lost power. I don't know what's going on. We're a casualty of an autopilot failure. Again, the AI is off. That shouldn't have happened. I can't think of anything other than being maybe weighted down too much. All right, well, cheat. I'm gonna teleport. Is the autopilot still on? Turn it on. It's disengaged. Auto throttle, autopilot, climb, flaps are up. And you better climb your ass off. We're not going to make it. Now I don't care if the passengers are uncomfortable. Now I'm raising the nose up to 4,600 feet per minute, trying to climb to 14. Because look what's ahead. Pikes Peak is 14,110. It's gonna take it to 20.
Colorado Springs departure Kinney is 112 Tree would like to change destination to Ogden.
Refiling our flight plan. Yeah, man, I don't know. I have no idea what happened there.
Report is filed. Squawk 4064.
$3026. Altimeter changed heavily there.
Turn left heading 290. Proceed on course Kinney is 112 Tree.
I don't know if we're gonna make it. I don't think we're gonna make it. Turning off the autopilot. Oh, we had to have a little bit of fun today, I suppose. Some moments of terror. All these flyers today. How embarrassing, crashing in front of all my homies. Yeah, I can live it down. Alright, let's turn that autopilot back on. And keep climbing. Being handed off with 2.
128.375 Kinney is 112 Tree. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Denver Center Kinney is 112 Tree 14,000 feet.
Okay. There are other fun things you can do. I mean, if you practice VOR navigation, at least you could at one point. The radios are kind of messed up down here. They have been. I haven't played with these in a while, but it's better, I think, to let the AI handle the radios. These don't... I've never really had much luck trying to do it manually down here. It's been bunged. There are fun things you can do, like fly with VOR to VOR. Everything in these things is usually, once you set your flight plan, you really don't ever have to fly manually. But if you did, and you wanted to apply some of your VOR to VOR training into this aircraft, you can do VOR to VOR. There's a VOR setting on your dash right here. You can turn on VOR information. And you can come down into here to your radios. This button here, radio nav, and you can put in VOR information here, course headings here. Here's our ILS, which we wanted to double check on anyway for our landing. That's right there, and it's going to be course heading 37, which matches the charts. Yes. Man, I did it again. I've been stuck on the the Skyvector screen for like 20 minutes. You haven't seen anything. You didn't see the takeoff, didn't see anything. I'm so pissed off. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. Sorry about that. I need to get an alarm set up on OBS. Just a big red flashing light when I'm not on the Microsoft Flight Simulator screen. I could turn on auto scene switching, but when I go back to Skyvector or moving between things to show you, it immediately clicks back over. There's no... It's either on or off. And what I mean by that is I can set this thing to on. And as soon as I go to a different screen to show you something, the next click that I make with the mouse, it immediately goes right back to Microsoft Flight Simulator. So I can't go to Skyvector. Even there, got it on the wrong thing.
119.85 Kinney is 112 tree.
But as soon as I click anything,
Denver
it goes back over.
112 tree is passing flight level 195, descending 14,000 feet.
So I can't come in here. I can show you whatever I've got on the screen. But now let's say I want to click on the airport and show you how to get the stuff again. Yeah, immediately goes back. So it's, you know, you're kind of damned if you do and damned if you don't having the auto scene switcher on. And because I've got so much stuff on my screen open all the time, one window's overlapping another, and it's difficult for me to sometimes keep an eye on OBS to ensure that I've got the proper screen active. So it's kind of a blessing in disguise. You just got to hear me crash and didn't get to see it. Wasn't as horrible as you might think. Make no mistake about it, we probably all died, but so I'm going to stop the scene switcher. And they still wanted us at 14,000 feet. So I'm going to request an altitude increase of 6,000 feet to put us around 20. Because there's no way I'm flying around these mountains at 14,000 feet. That's bull.
Denver Center Kinney is 112 tree.
One moment, please.
Flight level 200. Climb and maintain flight level 200. Kinney is 112 tree.
Okay. So again, my apologies. It's always something. Okay. Did they approve it? Okay. And they're saying that we're not at 20 now? We're at 20. So it could be an altimeter off. This is one of the things that I don't know how to address sometimes. I haven't figured out a good way to address it. Okay. I believe that between there and where we're at right now, there's an altimeter change. But I don't have an option to pull up an ATIS at this point. And I don't know if I can pull up like nearest METAR. I'll see. Yeah, no METAR available. So air traffic control, and you might find this happens to you too, they start hounding your ass to change it, to expedite your climb or expedite your descent. And they won't shut up about it. And I suppose I could try to find a live METAR map and try to figure out where I'm at. Or open the VFR map and try to find the nearest airport and try to find a frequency to get the proper ATIS. Or wait for them at some point to give me an updated one. So that can be a kind of a problem sometimes. All right. A little sightseeing. Again, it's great seeing so many people out flying today. Fantastic. Miller time. All you beautiful pilots. Monticello. I believe I have the terrain up pretty high. It should be almost full, but if not, let's double check. See that we're maxed. Nope. It's been flying at night. We were. We don't need buildings at Ultra at the moment. I want to put all the power into the ground to make the ground look as spectacular as possible. Apply your ultras where you need them, not everything. Don't just set everything to ultra for every single flight, unless I guess you have the most uber system and you don't have to worry about that. The rest of us mere mortals, however, you should be always, depending on the flight conditions, day or night, whatever, apply your ultras where you want them. And turn off the rest to save horsepower. Need to look where that at that lake. I've been doing the lakes around Colorado and the state parks, but we do have some really high alpine lakes that are kind of off the beaten path that we should probably do at some point. See if we can spot ourselves some bighorn sheep or something.
One tree 4.5 Kinney is 112 tree. Goodbye. Denver Center Kinney is 112 tree flight level 200.
I'm not a Windows guru, but I wonder if there's a way when you pop out a window to force Windows to always keep that window on top.
Going to 128.65 Kinney is 112 tree.
Because
Kinney is 112 tree flight level 200.
I would love to be able to pop out my chat and put it on top of my flight simulator screen and have it remain on top. It's on another monitor, and sometimes, again, moving things around, I lose sight of the chat. Going to turn down the environment a little bit. Do have it cranked. See a little bit of wing flexing going on, but not much. Not that it's a problem. Bushtalk Radio is on. Let me open the app and see if there's anything nearby. So Bushtalk, let me see if I've got that in OBS set up for you to see. So all those pins you see as I'm zooming down onto myself, these are all audio tours, all the audio tours that are available. And if you pass within a mile of one, you'll usually trigger it. We didn't come, that's not where we're at. You need to update where we're at. Offline. Double checking here. Yeah, we're good.
Going to 134.5 Kinney is 112 tree. Denver Center Kinney is 112 tree flight level 200.
Huh, it's logging me in with a different account and I can't get out of it. It's logging me in with the wrong account. Well, here's how it works in a nutshell. Let me go back and just show you. Silly thing. It's always something, man. All right, this is where we started out, and it's got us logged there anyway. It's not updating us. I can't log in. But if we wanted to do an, we're flying west. We're probably past these already, but let's just say we were passing one of these. You can get an audio tour. Now you have to be logged into play. Oh, it was working great yesterday. And I don't know, between yesterday and today, it's wanting to use a different login, and I can't. Let's see. Let me try this way. Ah, good. I think I got it. All right. Yep, that's where we're at. You can see us moving now. All right, so right here.
The South Canyon Fire was a 1994 wildfire that took the lives of 14 wildland firefighters on Storm King Mountain, near Glenwood Springs, Colorado, on July 6, 1994. It is often also referred to as the Storm King Fire. It was the subject of John McClane's book Fire on the Mountain, The True Story of the South Canyon Fire. On July 2, 1994, lightning sparked a fire near the base of Storm King Mountain, 7 miles west of Glenwood Springs, Colorado. Initially small and well away from private property, the fire was assigned low priority and allowed to smolder for the first 2 days. By July 4, the fire had burned only 3 acres. On July 5, firefighters began their approach from the west at the east end of Canyon Creek Estates, making a difficult march up the rugged terrain along, which is the present location of the Storm King Mountain Memorial Trail. Firefighters began constructing fire lines to contain the blaze. The fight was joined that evening by smoke jumpers who began aiding in the construction of the fire line, working well into the night of July 5 but quitting early due to danger from rolling rocks. The following day, 20 hotshots from Prineville, Oregon, were rushed to the fire to aid in the battle. That afternoon, a dry cold front passed through the area, increasing the winds and fire activity. By 4 p.m., the fire had spotted beyond the fire line and below the firefighters' location to the west and began to race towards them up the steep, densely vegetated terrain. 12 firefighters were unable to outrun the blaze and perished. 2 more Helitack firefighters were also killed as they tried to flee to the northwest.
Sad. Sad. Anyway, you're looking at the area. So ahead of us and just off our port side is Rifle, Colorado.
The city of Rifle is a home rule municipality located in Garfield County, Colorado, United States. The population was 9,172 at the 2010 census. Rifle is a regional center of the cattle ranching industry located along Interstate 70 and the Colorado River just east of the Roan Plateau, which dominates the western skyline of the town. The town was founded in 1882. The land that Rifle resides on was once in the heart of the Ute Nation, a classification of the indigenous peoples of the Great Basin. The most common tribe in the area were the Tabagosh, who hunted and lived on the land slightly to the east of Rifle in the Roaring Fork Valley. Due to their location, the Tabagosh was somewhat less exposed to white settlers, and to some extent their ways remained less altered than other native peoples. Rifle became more and more settled as the 19th century gave way to the 20th. In 1889, the railroad cut through from the east and ended in Rifle for a while before connecting lines were completed. This opened up the floodgates for new travelers, settlers, and trade. Rifle Mountain Park, located 16 miles north of Rifle, is maintained by the city of Rifle. It is popular with rock climbers. Other outside attractions near the city include Rifle Falls State Park, Rifle Falls Fish Hatchery, Rifle Gap State Park, Harvey Gap State Park, and access to BLM land, including Hubbard Mesa Open Area, Rifle Arch, and the Roan Plateau. 6 miles north of the center of the city is Rifle Creek Golf Course. In 2014, The new Ute Theater was opened in downtown Rifle.
The new Utes?
Rifle is home to the Garfield County Fairgrounds. 1 week out of the year, the city bustles with activities surrounding family and professional rodeos, extreme bull riding, live music, and a demolition derby.
So you're looking at the Rifle, Colorado area? What happened? So yeah, we're just passing it now. So nothing really in our way. Way over here, beyond that ridge, you know, something. Douglas Pass.
Douglas Pass, elevation 8,205 feet, is a mountain pass in Colorado traversed by State Highway 139. It is not an especially high summit relative to other Colorado passes, and the road, though reasonably steep on the south side, has no tight spots and only a few switchbacks. The summit gives an unusual view of the northeast face of the La Salle Mountains at 95 air miles away in Utah. The remainder of the drive is basically in valleys following creeks. The mountain consists of shale strata belonging to the Green River Formation, good exposures of which can be seen on the south side of the pass.
Yep. Okay. So the next point coming up is going to be on our starboard side, over here near Vernal.
Dinosaur National Monument.
Nice.
An American national monument located on the southeast flank of the Uinta Mountains on the border between Colorado and Utah at the confluence of the Green and Yampa rivers. Although most of the monument area is in Moffat County, Colorado, the dinosaur quarry is located in Utah, north of the town of Jensen, Utah. The nearest Colorado town is Dinosaur, while the nearest city is Vernal, Utah. The park contains over 800 paleontological sites and has fossils of dinosaurs including Allosaurus, Deinonychus, Abidosaurus, and various sauropods. The Abidosaurus consists of a nearly complete skull, the lower jaw, and first four neck vertebrae. The specimen was found at the base of the Musenchushed member of the Cedar Mountain Formation and is the holotype for the description. The area around the quarry was declared a national monument on October 4, 1915. The International Dark Sky Association designated Dinosaur National Monument an International Dark Sky Park in April 2019.
Why not watch the chat on your phone? I had never thought about that. All right, so Dinosaur National Park. Still coming up on it. Looking in the proper direction. then Vernal, which they mentioned, and then there's something else. Skinwalker Ranch. I can't believe they put Skinwalker Ranch in here. Let's do Vernal first. Really? It's just a house?
The Manfred and Ethel Martin House, at 163 North Vernal Avenue in Vernal, Utah, was built in 1912. It was listed on the National Register of Historic Places in 2004. It is a vernacular shingle-style house. It was deemed significant as an early healthcare facility in Vernal. Manfred Martin was an early doctor in Vernal and built this house in 1912 as a family residence with an attached doctor's office. He moved to Vernal during a period of growth and prosperity in Vernal's history when the demand for more medical facilities increased. He attended patients by horse and buggy. It was also deemed significant architecturally as the only example in Vernal of a shingle-style house. The shingle style is uncommon in Utah, and even more so in such isolated communities as Vernal. Although the house has had some minor alterations, it retains its historic and architectural integrity and contributes to the history of Vernal and Uintah County.
I don't know about that with OBS. I don't know. I'm not, I don't know that it works that way. I'll have to, wow, look at the terrain down there. Look at these little circles everywhere. It's like they're dropping mines or, that's weird. I mean, there's just something strange about that. Maybe these are home pads? I don't know. It looks kind of weird. Could be those are just plots. These are just they're planning. Yeah, I guess so. Now I'm seeing more and more and more. These are all just either were being developed as neighborhood plots, but these maps could be up to 10 years old. We might have a whole small little town when 2024 comes out. They said they are updating the maps. We should get new Bing and satellite maps. It will be nice to see all the things in my area that haven't been updated in Bing for 10 years. We've got whole new towns. Castle Rock has taken off like crazy. And none of it's there yet. All right, so we should be getting closer to Skinwalker Ranch. So yeah, it's going to be just up ahead here. Just slightly.
5.575 Kinney is 112 tree. Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Salt Lake Center Kinney is 112 tree flight level 200.
So we're a little high, but it's going to be along the highway and just on this big turn if you have eagle eyes and you can spot that. But let's hear what they have to say.
Skinwalker Ranch, also known as Sherman Ranch, is a property located on approximately 512 acres southeast of Ballard, Utah that is reputed to be the site of paranormal and UFO-related activities. Its name is taken from the Skinwalker of Navajo legend concerning vengeful shaman. In 2016, Skinwalker Ranch was sold for $4.5 million to Adamantium Holdings, a shell corporation of unknown origin.
Adamantium?
Purchase. All roads leading to the ranch have been blocked, the perimeter secured and guarded by cameras and barbed wire, and surrounded by signs that aim to prevent people from approaching the ranch. In March 2020, Brandon Fugel, 46, a Utah real estate tycoon, announced that he is the owner of the ranch.
Yeah, and then they did a documentary out there with some scientists. One of these guys that does like the Tesla, he went around looking for all of Tesla's technologies. And he's a new feature of those like ancient aliens or UFO shows. And he was out there and did a documentary recently at Skinwalker, but I don't have any follow-up information. Pull up OBS and we can look at the options. I've used it before. Okay. The settings are the options, because what I've normally been trying to use is that auto scene switcher up here. Settings are down here. But I've got multiple monitors. I don't know. I don't know about telling it only to look at scene 1 on monitor 1. Yeah, here's my sources for Microsoft. Oops. Oh, I see. Think. Add element. Add element. And that'll do a display capture. And yeah, there's the display that it's on. So we do a display capture. right? But I don't understand. Yeah, but I have to be able to switch. Anything on the screen is on the stream. I see what you're saying, but then I suppose I would have to bring everything over onto this screen. And I have two screens. Let me go back to MSFS. So, or basically, I would have to, yeah, I would have to bring everything onto the screen. I'm not entirely certain.
127.7 Kinney is 112 tree. Goodbye.
Because right now I'm trying to go back to OBS.
112 tree flight level 200.
Yeah, and I don't. Now I can't see OBS. No, it's not that hard to click and drag. No, it is not. It is not. But so what you're saying is I would have to do this, bring it over. But if I click on Windows, then it's gone. I got to bring it back up. And then I don't know what that's going to do. Also, with regards to, I probably won't make any big memory difference trying to keep everything on one monitor overlapping or not. But I get what you're saying. I do. I'm getting it. So, like if I go to Skyvector. Skyvector go. Must have closed it. No. And bring this over. Well, I will play with that. My mouse. My cursor. There you are. All right, off to our starboard we just passed.
The Uinta Mountains are an east-west trending chain of mountains in northeastern Utah, extending slightly into southern Wyoming in the United States. As a sub-range of the Rocky Mountains, they are unusual for being the highest range in the contiguous United States.
Oh, we just lost all of our snow.
West, and lie approximately 100 miles east of Salt Lake City. The range has peaks ranging from 11,000 to 13,528 feet, with the highest point being Kings Peak, also the highest point in Utah. The Mirror Lake Highway crosses the western half of the Uintas on its way to Wyoming.
Very nice. Okay. Right out in front of us now, we have this.
Mirror Lake is a lake in the high Uinta Mountains in Utah. It is a popular fishing and recreation spot. The lake contains 3 species of trout: rainbow, brook, and tiger. The lake has a Forest Service campground, picnic facilities, and a boat ramp for non-motorized watercraft.
A lot of lakes around here.
The lake expect ILS runway 3 approach via Tango Charlie Hotel transition cleared to Tango Charlie Hotel Kinney is 112 tree.
Damn. Reflection of the surrounding mountains and trees seen from a roadside overlook or from the shore. The shoreline is owned by the Uinta Wasatch Cache National Forest. Mirror Lake includes the adjacent Mirror
Descend and
Lake
maintain
campground
13,000
with
feet. Kinney
latrines,
is 112
day-use
tree.
areas and 94 campsites.
I heard you.
The water that enters the lake is overflow from Pass Lake located just above Mirror Lake. The outflow is the headwaters of the
Descend
Duchesne
and
River.
maintain 12,000 feet. Kinney is 112.
Pardon.
Descend and maintain 13,000 feet. Kinney is 112 tree.
No, I get what you're saying. I totally get what you're saying. I've got to rework my sources and scenes.
Descend and maintain.
So it's gonna take me a little bit of time. I was actually in the wrong scene where I set that up. What I kind of need to do is go over here.
Descend and maintain 12,000 feet. Kinney is 112 tree.
And cut. So I had made a mistake. I'd put my display in another window, and then I'm trying to find things, and it's just a little bit confusing, and I just need to get this flight done, and I can play with this all afternoon. So, yeah, I agree with you. I agree with you. I'm not trying to frustrate you. I just want to get through this flight. So lots and lots and lots of points in Skyvector as you approach heavily populated areas. You're gonna get a lot of pins to choose from, and Bushtalk's a great application for that if you want that. One of the neatest features about it, especially when you're traveling overseas, is it does have a radio feature down here in the bottom, and it will play whatever local radio stations it can find. So I was listening to what were we in Sweden yesterday, listening to Swedish radio stations after the live stream continued, because it will create a copyright violation. But it's a hoot. It is such a hoot being able to listen to basically any radio station in the world as you travel around. So I really, really, really like Bushtalk Radio. I think it's been one of the best things I've ever picked up for Microsoft Flight Simulator. All of my live streams in the last year, as Skydude doing the NEOFLY stuff, having this, keeping us entertained as we're flying around. The best. The best. I love it. $11,000 feet.
.119.905 Kinney is 112 tree. Goodbye. Salt Lake Center Kinney is 112 tree is at 11,600 feet, descending 11,000 feet.
All right, here comes our decel point. Switching frequencies.
Going to 135.775 Kinney is 112 tree. Salt Lake Center Kinney is 112 tree, 11,100 feet.
.3023, 3026, 3023.
Descend and maintain 9,600 feet. Kinney is 112 tree.
9,600. 9,600. Great. So we're going to be flying in, doing a little bit of an arc.
Maintain 9,000 feet. Kinney is 112 tree.
Right out. 1,000 feet. It's coming in so close over the tops of these.
Descend and maintain 8,400 feet. Kinney is 112 tree.
Where the scene will switch. The monitor that you were on. Yeah, I'm going to look into it. I'm going to look into that completely, and I'll probably end up reworking all my
Descend and maintain 9,000 feet. Kinney is 112 tree.
scenes and sources. So I am absolutely going to play with that.
Going to 121.1 Kinney is 112 tree.
I get it.
Kinney is
Yeah.
112 tree is at 9,300 feet, descending 9,000 feet.
3022. Very pretty here. Very, very, very pretty. I can see why the Mormons liked it.
Descend and maintain 8,300 feet. Kinney is 112 tree.
8,000 feet.
Climb and maintain 9,000 feet. Kinney is 112 tree.
Really? Guys, really? Now it's just, you're screwing around.
Climb
Go to
and
8,000.
maintain 10,000 feet. Kinney is 112 tree.
Now go back up to 10. Hilarious.
Descend and maintain 8,800 feet. Kinney is 112 tree.
Feel like you're being punked. 8,000 feet. Okay. There was a bump in the air we had to go over as they fly us into this mountain.
Climb
Come
and
on.
maintain 9,600 feet. Kinney is 112 tree.
Oh my god, they're gonna fly us into the mountain. Turn. 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 What are you doing?
Descend and maintain 8,900 feet. Kinney is 112
Right
tree.
into the mountain. Look at that. That's nuts.
Descend
Oh.
and maintain 8,100 feet. Kinney is 112 tree.
If I do it right now, we're in it. I think we're gonna barely clear it. Let me pause. Look at that. Look at how close they have us to the top. If I would have done what they said right when they did it, 1,000 feet. That's crazy. It's crazy. So, air traffic control. That's why you disabled the air traffic control.
Descend and maintain 9,200 feet. Kinney is 112 tree.
Whew.
Climb and maintain 9,900 feet. Kinney is 112 tree. Descend and maintain 9,300 feet. Kinney is 112 tree. Descend and maintain 8,000 feet. Kinney is 112 tree.
Crazy, crazy. The traffic injector AI plane still worked just fine without it. Contact Ogden Tower 11871 inbound. Almost there.
Tower on 118.7 Kinney is 112
We should be making our arc turn here in a moment.
Tower Kinney is 11235 miles southwest inbound ILS runway tree approach.
Here we go.
Cleared ILS runway tree approach Kinney is 112
Right. Screeched. Huh. That must have been a lot of fun to build. That road going across the lake. Those folks out in Denmark, Sweden, and those places, they don't mess around, man. They have highways going across oceans. Those people are insane. Some of the roads across the oceans that I've seen over there just blow my mind. I had no idea such things existed. The engineering is mind-boggling. All right, so we're getting ready to hit our Joseph waypoint, and again we're at 9,000 feet, so 8,000 feet, and at Wolf we're supposed to be at I still have my chart around anywhere. And I don't. ILS runway 3, we are supposed to be at 6,000 feet at Wolf. So I'm going to go ahead and start descending now because I'm not hearing from them. Again, don't always trust the air traffic control to put you where you need to be. It's kind of like all of this up to this point. All right, let me switch this over to ILS here. I don't really have to turn that on. Or switch us. Switch it anyway. It just pulls up your ILS information on your screen here. There's our diamond. If you look right here, you see this diamond. So as we approach Wolf, coming it down to 6,000 feet, that diamond should come down. When the diamond is centered on this yellow bar, we're above it still. Come on. See if I can expedite us down a little bit more. There's 6,000 feet. Almost at Wolf. Come on. Bring back the diamond. If we don't get it, and we didn't get it the other night, well, at one time we were trying to do a landing in Denver and we didn't get it. And the next one was fine. We got our diamond. Right now, I don't know where the heck the diamond's at. Let me
land runway tree Kinney is 112.
Zoom into 10 miles. Here comes our diamond again. Okay. So, I mean, you could, it's pretty forgiving. I mean, you could probably push it now, but ideally you want to wait for this diamond to center on that yellow line, and probably 5, 4, 3, 2, it's kind of tough keeping an eye on, and then hit that button on your dash, approach. Okay. So now it's taken over. Let me put in my flaps. Let me drop my landing gear. So the flaps are down, spoilers armed. And now the airplane is communicating with the ground and it is controlling the descent down. We're still in autopilot. Oh, we're not. Auto throttle into the auto throttle area. I forgot to take us out. Dumb. Okay, so it's now controlling the throttle too. Very pretty. So all we need to do in that enter the window of terror is turn off the autopilot, and you know, whenever you're comfortable, usually I want to say 100 feet, and it's usually just a small flare. Go ahead and turn off the autopilot now. Just a small pull up on the nose. Put my activate my spoilers. Brakes, reverse thrust. Make sure that my reverse thrust took, which it did. And we're golden. All right. Turn off the brakes. Turn off the reverse thrust. Disarm the spoiler. His flaps. And contact Ogden. Brake. What do we don't want to talk to ATIS, we want the tower.
Ogden Tower Kinney is 112 tree would like to cancel IFR.
For manual landing, you need to disengage the AP before the minimums call out. Before he starts going 500, 400, 300, 200, 100. Really? I always thought it was around 100 or whenever you felt comfortable. But before he starts calling out minimums. I don't got any taxi options. I'm going to get off the runway a little bit more.
.121.7 Kinney is 112 tree.
There we go. Now we have a ground option. And we only have at this airport taxi for takeoff options. We don't have a. You can get ground services, but we don't have a parking, which is no big deal. We got here. Look at the bottom of the approach chart. It shows the minimums. ILS 3. So what are the minimums? 4,007, is that feet? ILS 3 S, that would be us. 3740 and 3/4. So is that where we turn off the autopilot? That can't be right. 4,740 can't be right. You should disengage the autopilot by 4,740 feet. Really? Huh. So that would have been in between there and there. Because we're at 6,000 when we turn it on. So come down 4,470. I get it. All right. All right. Well, we can definitely try that next time. That's 267 feet above the ground is the other number. All right. So when he's counting down, he says like, you know, around before 200. But yeah, I can see how this could change for every chart. It might, it's not always going to be the same. But I'll start paying attention to the minimum disengage. I like it. Well, that's all I really wanted to do for this live stream, is get a little bit of practice in. And mission successful. We've arrived. We avoided most of the pitfalls. Still really unsure what happened after takeoff with the autopilot not taking control and us coming out of the air. And then them almost crashing us into the mountain. Fun. But we did get a little bit of a time with the MCDU and the very, very basics. And the basics of Skyvector on how to find a flight plan or find a chart, SIDS or stars. So pretty successful. All right, well, it's nearing the mid-afternoon here. It's just after the 4:20 mark. And so time for a little break, rest and refreshments. And I think Chris is doing Sims tonight. So normally Saturday nights we're busy and I'm absolutely free tonight. So I'll try to find something planned to do or somebody to watch or something. So thank you for your advice. I'm going to go through OBS and I'm going to look at setting up that way. But right now, because, well, I want to take my break, but I have everything all over the place. I got so many different scenes and so many different sources. It's kind of a clutter anyway, so I don't mind, but I'm going to have to kind of blow everything out and try to set it for that other way. So. All right, well, I will catch you later. And if I don't catch you later, you have a great weekend, and I will see you Monday.